To produce YouTube videos that people actually want to watch, I have a process of planning, scripting, shooting and editing them, which I share with you in this tutorial. We're also doing a giveaway from my airbridge later, so keep watching to learn more. The first step is to come up with good ideas for my videos, and there are basically two ways how I do that. One way is to directly choose a specific topic. That can be a video about a certain product or a topic that I discover doing a keyword research on YouTube. To do that, I type in some words in the search bar that I think could be interesting for my audience, and then YouTube gives me suggestions based on what people already searched for. These suggestions are perfect to create videos around. So the first way is a direct approach to coming up with topics, but there's also an indirect way, and that is when certain topics or ideas just pop up randomly in my head. That usually happens at times when I don't actively look for topics and I'd easily forget them. To prevent that, I quickly write these ideas down into my notes app. Now, most of these random ideas are actually not good, so I validate them with a checklist which ensures that they are relevant to my audience and that I can produce them in a good quality. If I can validate the topic, I also do a keyword research after that, because having a keyword in mind that people are searching for helps to get the point across and obviously gets more views over time. Now, to be honest, there are a lot of videos on my channel where I did not do the keyword research step and I didn't plan well, because sometimes I just think it should be fine. But when I go through my analytics, I can definitely tell that videos with proper keyword research and planning perform better. So don't skip this part even if it's boring and you think that you already know it all, because you might be surprised. Now that I know the topic of the video, it's time for step 2, research, scripting and planning. Yes, you heard right, I do another research, but this time not about the keyword, but instead about the specific points I want to talk about and also the title and thumbnail. To do that, I start by writing down the points that I think are important. After that, I watch other YouTube videos about the topic and read articles to know about different perspectives and get more information that could make my video better. I also have a look at the thumbnails of similar videos to come up with ideas to stand out. When the research is done, I have a list with all information about the topic, which I then sort into a basic outline of the video. From here it depends. If I want to speak freely in the final video, I use the outline to know what I want to talk about and go straight into recording the A-roll. But oftentimes I want the video to be more straight to the point, or I want to tell a better story. In this case, I write an actual script where every word I say is pre-planned. If you don't know what A and B-roll means, A-roll is the talking head part and B-roll is the footage that shows what you're talking about. To write the script, I use the outline as subtitles and I simply write the content to each subtitle. That makes scripting very easy and prevents me from procrastinating, as I have a good starting point. Now, important when writing a script is also to think about the value for the viewer first and how you can make the content easy to consume. Here especially the hook at the beginning of the video is important, but also every other part should either be informative or entertaining, because we don't want any clutter in there. The good example here is my recent video how to start FPV, for example. There I integrated a running gag of my girlfriend being mad at me for constantly buying new drones, and stuff like that can make your videos easier to consume because it generates short pauses in between all the information while still being entertaining. After the script is done or I recorded the A-roll, it's time to plan all the shots, and you've probably heard the sentence show don't tell before, and this is exactly what this part is about. To make your videos easy to watch and enjoyable, you should show what you're talking about instead of just talking. To do so, I go through every part of my script or the edited A-roll and come up with ideas for shots and sequences that fit the content. I write down a list with all the shots and sequences I want to shoot and also at which location I want to shoot them. It saves a lot of time because I often need shots for multiple videos at the same location, so I can quickly prepare a list with all the shots I need before I go shooting. Of course, there are also shots that I can't get, and for that I use stock footage. My favorite platforms for that are Artgrid and Inverter Elements. Artgrid is very high quality, while Inverter Elements offers a broad variety of different assets. So while I create the shot list, I already look for stock footage clips and I download them. It saves a bit of time and prevents me from bad surprises, as I already know if there's usable stock footage or not. If you also shouldn't find any stock footage or nothing fits, you can also just blend in bold titles or simply show your talking head. I personally prefer to have talking head parts in my videos because never seeing the guy behind the microphone feels a bit weird. Now, important during your shot planning is that you take some time to get your creative juice flowing, because there is the lazy way of simply showing what you're talking about, but also the creative way of coming up with interesting angles, effects and transitions and trying to tell a story with every single shot, and that's really where you can make your videos stand out. You might also be interested in the apps that I use to plan my videos, and that are Notion and Millernote. Milanote is great for the research because you can easily bring a lot of information together in whatever way you want. But I prefer Notion for scripting and organizing my videos in shot lists because of its database capabilities. If you need a Notion template to plan your videos, Niklas Crystal and Thomas Frank offer great templates that you can adjust to your needs. Both are quite similar, I couldn't do it better, and Niklas and Thomas deserve credit for that, so I will just link them in the description below. Okay, you see that the research, planning and scripting part actually takes quite long, but I would say it's the most important part because it will make your videos a lot better. And if you don't have that much time to plan it in detail, just keep it simple. Write an outline, shoot the A-roll as quick as possible, then cut all the clutter and repetitions out of your A-roll, make a quick list with your B-roll shots that you can capture easily at home or without much travel time, and you can go to the next step quickly, which is shooting the actual video. Shooting my videos varies a lot, to be honest. Some shots happen mostly at home with some product b-roll, while other videos involve a lot of traveling to many different shooting locations. So instead of going in-depth about it, I give you some of my best tips. Most important is the audio. If the audio sucks, it will be hard for the viewer to watch, so make sure to get a decent microphone such as the Rode VideoMic NTG and bring the microphone as close to your mouth as you can for best quality. For wireless microphones, I recommend the Rode Wireless Go 2, Saramonic Blink 500 or the new DJI mic. To make your shots look good, the most important thing is to use light properly. When shooting outside, that means that you should ideally shoot at sunrise or sunset, because at these times the light is so beautiful that it's quite hard not to get good looking shots. It's also possible to get good shots over the day, but it's more difficult and strongly depends on the place and shot you want to get. Ideally use a cloudy day for that. But not only the time of the day is important, it's also about the position of the light. You generally want to either put the sun or another light source behind your subject or let it come from the side to create depth. Backlight gives your subject a nice rim light at the edges, what separates it from the background, while light coming from the side throws shadows over the face, what also generates depth in conjunction with the bright parts. When shooting inside, it is generally the same, but you usually use multiple lights to have a backlight effect, but also ensure that the subject itself is well lit. An easy setup is to put one key light at an angle above your face, one backlight behind to create rim light, and a reflector or another light as a fill light to make the shadow side of your face a bit brighter. If you don't have an artificial light at home, you can also record in front of the window. The problem with windows though is that the light changes all the time. So window light is okay for B-roll shots as they are not that long, and also for short A-roll sessions, but longer shoots can be problematic. And that directly leads me to my next tip, which is to ensure that you have many changes in your videos. So if you sit in the same place and in the same position, for example, in all of your A-roll shots, it's a bit boring to watch. So if the A-roll takes a bit longer, split it up in shorter parts and record each part in a different setting. And that also helps with window light, what I'm using right now. And when you're shooting B-roll, it's most important that you get enough shots, and that's why I always capture a few more shots and angles as I actually need, so I have more variety and gap fillers in post. Also, B-roll is all about visual storytelling. Now, you mustn't be a perfect visual storyteller to get started, but in the long term, you should shoot more and more with intention. A good example for that is choosing the right focal length. In my Giant Crane M3 video, for example, I wanted the shots with the M3 to give a feeling of freedom. So I shot most of them at 24mm, which is wide and shows a lot of the surrounding. In shots with bigger gimbals, I wanted to express the feeling of being limited, so I shot all of it on either 85 or 135mm, what are a lot narrower focal lengths that feel much tighter. To get these shots of myself, I either use a tripod, a camera slider, or I let someone else film me. It's okay to start with a tripod only, but you want to add some motion to your shots over time, so asking friends and buying a camera slider like the Gpon Micro 2 Plus or Mother Slidepod Pro is worth it in the long run. So to be honest, most of it is really up to your creativity. There is no real right or wrong, so just capture cool angles and try to get all the shots you need to build sequences and bring a story across. Can either be footage that just shows what you're talking about, but you can also get shots that either raise or answer questions that also keeps your story moving. But I would say let's talk about video editing now. And at first I want to show you my AirBridge. My AirBridge allows you to upload extremely big files and either share them with others or just store them in the cloud, for example if you're traveling and want to be sure your video files are somewhere safe. Special about my AirBridge is that their up and download speeds are super fast and their service comes at a very reasonable price. It also works completely in the browser, so you don't have to install any apps. I use my AirBridge to work together with my video editor to send him all the files he needs. For example, the Final Cut Pro library of my current FPV video with proxy files is 77 GB big, so I upload it to my AirBridge and send a link to him where he can download it. When he's done with the edit, he uses his team member account on my AirBridge to upload the library again, so I download it and do the final render. That's a super easy workflow, and in today's video we're giving away 3 Pro accounts for my AirBridge, which include 2 TB cloud space and 250 GB file size limit. That's huge. All you have to do is to comment below how you're going to use my AirBridge within 3 days after this video gets live, and I will reply to your comment if you're chosen. I'm also giving away more accounts to members of my Learn with Pascal platform, so if you're part of it, you will find the details in our Facebook group, and if not, it's time to join. The link is in the description below. But let's come to my editing process. Important at the beginning is to build a proper folder structure. So I have a project folder for every video with subfolders for A-roll, B-roll, voiceovers, graphics, animations, music and sound effects that I want to use in the video. And within those subfolders, I use more subfolders that are numbered and named by each chapter of the video. And within those folders are all the clips. I use a specific naming scheme for the clips to make it easier for my editor to find them, but if you're just starting out, that's not necessary. The editing app I use is Final Cut Pro because it has the fastest workflow and best performance, especially on the M1 MacBooks. When I load the project folder with all the media into Final Cut Pro, it automatically creates tags based on the folders, what makes it very easy to find all the clips quickly. Additionally, I can search for the numbers of the clips, so it's very easy to find what I'm looking for. Or what my editing guy is looking for. Hey Daniel! After importing the footage, I start by dragging all the voiceovers and A-roll clips into the timeline, and I cut all the pauses, spelling mistakes, etc. out. It's important to do that first because that builds the storyline of the videos, so I know where to put the B-roll later. And that's what I do next. I simply drag all the B-roll from the media browser above the voiceovers and A-roll wherever it should be according to the shot list. You can also speed that up by putting titles with the chapter numbers and names on top of the voiceovers and A-roll first, so you know exactly where which clips belong. I also cut the B-roll down and match it to the voiceovers and A-roll so that it fits to what I'm saying at the time. When that's done, I play it back and I look if it all flows well, and I eventually make corrections where it does not. And sometimes it also means that I re-record a voiceover or that I record a few more clips or download additional stock footage in case we didn't record enough B-roll, so don't be lazy here. Then it's time to search for music tracks. That can sometimes be 10 tracks or so in one video, so it takes a lot of time, but it's important because the music should really reflect the mood of each part. The service I use and recommend is Epidemic Sound. You will find a link in the description below. After choosing the music, I insert it into the timeline and cut the B-roll so that it fits to both the beat of the music and also the voiceovers. That's also the point where I insert transitions and certain effects because they also need to fit to the music. That part can really take a lot of time because after this step everything has to fit. And if not, I might change the music, and sometimes I even remove or replace complete parts of the video to make it better. When all of that is done, I do the sound design first and the color grading comes at the very end, because after color grading it's more likely that the video lags during playback, so it's better to do the sound design first. Now, going into the detail of sound design and color grading would be way too much for this video, but I have many tutorials on these topics on my channel, so feel free to check them out. And I must overall say here that this whole process can take a lot of time, so when you're starting out on YouTube and your time is limited, you must look for ways to do it quick. So what I would do is to plan shots that are not hard to get and that you can get around your home or at least close by, and then always have a microphone on top of your camera when recording B-roll, because that can save a lot of time sound designing and also make the color grading easy for you by either shooting in a normal picture profile or one where you only need to do minimal color grading in post to make it look good. And if you're interested in learning more about shooting your videos, check out my playlist here in the corner and consider subscribing, and I see you soon.